Into the tie then as Manchester United win by 1-0 and what that means, of course, we went into this game feeling it was a must-win game for Ten Hag's side if they're going to qualify from this Champions League group, and it puts them above Copenhagen. We'll talk about Bayern Munich's victory over Galatasaray a little later on, but let's welcome first Jan Aage Fjortoft joins us. Jan, we'll get to you in a moment, but Craig, overall, this was what we've seen from United quite a bit, isn't it, this season? Yeah,
you've got to give him credit for the second half, particularly two players that have been under an enormous amount of pressure. Harry Maguire, who's been the headlines for club and country, and Onana, who's part of a bit of a goalkeeper thing at the moment. We seem to be talking about a lot of these new goalkeepers, David Raya and Onana, both stepped up. That being said, you know, Jordan Larsson comes on, my old teammate Henrik's son. I think he barely had a touch before taking the penalty, so that was a big call.
Does that make a difference? You took penalties. Did you need to kind of settle in?
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, not that I came off the bench much, but I wouldn't.
All right.
No, but I wouldn't. Well, that's relative to this.
Right. Okay. No, it's all right.
But I don't think if I did come off the bench, I would take a penalty. Would be my point.
Right. I see.
So I think it is, but that's their decision. It was a very good save, but you're right. You know, anybody surprised by what they saw in the first half, clearly have not been watching Manchester United. They looked nervy, there was no patterns to the play, he made some changes at half-time. They did get better, there was no doubt about that, as Copenhagen seemed to run out of a few ideas and a bit of steam. But this absolutely keeps it alive for them, even though they've still got to go to Denmark, they've still got to go to Turkey, and obviously they've got Bayern Munich at home, who will be, you know,
home and hosed by then.
Home and hosed by then.
Shaka, how would you sum this up?
Got the job done, and that's about as much as you can say. They needed to win this, and they did. The performance again wasn't great. You get the two standout moments in the game from two players who've been heavily criticised, and maybe it's a start of some kind of momentum for Manchester United. On the other hand, though, I think Copenhagen have been better than maybe we would have thought coming into this competition. Throw away a 2-goal lead away to Galatasaray last time, well, couple match days ago, and then I thought put up a decent fist of this one. So if you're Manchester United and you're looking at this group, you think Bayern Munich are going to run away with it. Right now, you're hoping Bayern Munich run away with it, and then it's a toss-up for that second place. And to finish second, you had to win here. You got it, and as I say, you got performances from players who've been criticised. Maybe it's the start of something for Manchester United.
United just making hard work of everything at the moment, though, Jan.
Well, yeah, I've been working with Champions League for over 20 years now in this capacity, and I had to go through my memory bank. I think this first half must be the worst I've ever seen them play in the Champions League. Having said that, I mean, if you take another view to it, they're Brentford, lucky. Sheffield United was not a particularly great game, but they won it. I know they're winning against Copenhagen, so that is 3 in a row for some reason. And they always, when we're talking about Manchester United, they say, maybe this is the start, maybe this is the start. Well, that's what we say all the time. And then we have the most unlikely match winner in the history of football. And if this was a Hollywood film, I would never sit down and seen it, because it's unrealistically that Onana will save a penalty in the 97th minute. And then Maguire, he was good at Sheffield, he was good at Bramall Lane, maybe the man of the match in that game, scoring the winner. I think the football gods had one of those nights tonight. But if this is the start for Manchester United, I'm not sure about the future.
The future, of course, is Manchester City.
It's a bit hard to get some momentum going when your next team is City.
Yeah. Can we just take a moment on Maguire? This is someone who hasn't really hidden, has he, despite all the criticism?
No. And look, I've never criticised him for sort of any of that scenario. I'm a bit critical that he wasn't more bullish about pushing through a move in the transfer window, but he felt he was going to get some game time. Now, that game time has come about through injuries to, first of all, Varane and now Martinez. So, and I always said, and I always believed that Ten Hag wanted to keep him for that very purpose. Because, you know, you try to convince a player who's an England international, who thinks he's due more game time, but he's not the preferred choice. But then, in fairness to United, looking ahead, well, if we lose 2 or 3, a couple of these guys, and we sell him,
yes,
we're screwed. So I think it was quite smart from United not to take the advances from West Ham and maybe one or two others. And yeah, look, he did a very good job for England again. He was lucky in the first half because he had a half-hearted tackle. I think it was for the Consalves chance that we showed in the clip.
Yeah.
It was an awful challenge, so he got away with that. It is far from perfection, but it's not from Onana either. But you've got to give Maguire some credit. He doesn't lack any confidence in his own ability, no matter what anybody says, to come in and do a decent job.
And the reason, of course, Manchester United went into this game with so much pressure is partly because of what Onana has done in the first 2 match days and how much he needed that penalty save to be the hero late on.
Yeah, no, not just what he's done in the first 2 matches, what he's done pretty much since he arrived at Old Trafford. And I think a goalkeeper in desperate need of a good performance, of some good headlines for once. And he found that with what was virtually last touch of the ball in the game. He is very important to Manchester United going forward. And not just because of who he replaced, but because we've made the point time and time again that Manchester United are lacking that leadership. And one of the reasons he was brought from Inter Milan is to provide that. But I felt, and I've said this before, that while he was focusing on everybody else, his own game kind of, it dwindled. And he needed something just to get himself back in the good graces of the Manchester United faithful at the very least. He still has a long way to go to rediscover the kind of form that people expect of him or that he showed of him last season. But again, maybe I'm being overly positive here. I know Jan thinks differently. It's a step in the right direction.
But if I can say something about that, because I think with Onana and Maguire, we remember as players, there are times when you kind of win over the crowd. That doesn't happen in just a game or two or whatever you do. These are incidents like what happened today. You are the match winner. You do that in the 97th minute. You didn't do it in the 18th minute. You do it in the 97th minute. And that feeling to win over the crowd. I remember when I came to England, I played against a pub team in my first friendly game. I missed a sitter after 3 minutes, and the whole stadium, which was 800 people, was shouting, "What a waste of money!" I mean, that's just that is a part of it. And these players are playing for Manchester United. And I've been many times in the interview zone at Manchester United when Harry Maguire had to be the first player leaving the pitch because he didn't have to have a shower, because he wasn't involved. And now fighting his way back, and to be fair, Manchester United or any club, big-time clubs, when they have a terrible time, a troubled time, they need, I think the English word is scapegoat, they need someone to hit on. And Maguire has been that, and he's been lucky that Onana has been the second one, taking a bit off him. But today, they both came back. And for them, this could be a start of something special.
Results apart, and as a results business, I firmly believe this continuous type of performance has got no longevity. It just, if you play like that in Istanbul, you will lose. If you play like this and how you have played in Copenhagen, you'll probably lose. Even if Bayern are through, they're still going to probably have too much at home. Look, one of the upsides for United at the moment is a lot of the teams they've played have been lightweight up front. Copenhagen are lightweight up front. Sheffield United, who outplayed United for long periods of that game, particularly early on, and as Don pointed out a couple of days ago, were beaten 8-0 by Newcastle United, were lightweight up front. The same for Burnley, the same for Wolves, and one or two others. So yes, this is a win, and a much-needed win, as was the one at Bramall Lane. But I just don't think, unless there's a big sea change in patterns of play and getting key players back, that this has got any longevity in terms of keeping results going. And the other thing, we're talking positively about Onana and Maguire, and correctly so. It's a big night for them, a big night for Man United in the circumstances. But once again, the guy that cost almost 100 million, the wide player, Anthony, was shockingly bad once more. So, there's positives and there's negatives, and they're kind of 50-50 at the moment.
Before we talk about their possibility of getting out of the group and through to the knockout stages, let's just put some context to that conversation by taking through what happened in the early game.